Hello, my friends, and welcome once again to stately Vaughn Manor. Now, today we'll be talking about The Dark Knight Returns, Part 2. So, I am doing a read along, or I have hopped on board a read along that Steve Donoghue and the Mayberry Book Club are doing on their channels. They're doing The Dark Knight Returns read along. And they invited anybody who wanted to hop on board and make videos along with them. So that's what I'm doing. So last week I did part 1. They're doing one part a week. So this is part 2 of Batman The Dark Knight Returns. One of the most influential comic book series of all time. It was a 4-part series that is now available as a graphic novel. And it, like I said, was tremendously influential. And this is the part 2. This is the copy that I bought when I was 15 years old. I believe it was 1986, right? Still, yeah, 1986, so I was 15 when this came out. And I was really excited to get it because I love part 1. I did. And I think part 2 was probably my favorite part. A lot escaped me about this story when it came out and when I was 15 years old. Reading it now is an entirely different experience. I can tell you that. And I talked last time about some of the changes that the Dark Knight series caused in the character of Batman and in comic books in general. It, along with Watchmen, which came out at about the same time, helped to darken up comic books quite a bit. And DC Comics, which wasn't that dark of a company, darkened up quite a bit right around that time. So yeah, this changed a lot. So in part 2, the last issue, the last part, Batman, who had been retired for 10 years, who came out of retirement to take care of Two-Face, who would come back. So Two-Face, he took care of him. But now, the evil mutant gang, which is this huge street gang, a very 1980s one, very 1980s looking street gang, an acting street gang, have pretty much become an army of ridiculous looking criminals. You know, Gotham City, it is famous for its ridiculous-looking criminals, and these guys are probably the most ridiculous. And the evil mutant leader is threatening the life of Commissioner Gordon, who is being forced into retirement, which is, quite frankly, probably for the best. So yeah, so the mutant gang are the main villains, and the evil mutant leader in this one. And the artwork is fantastic in this. You've got some really great iconic shots like this one right here. That's a very cool Batman shot. This one also introduces a new Robin, Carrie Kelly? Yeah, Carrie Kelly, I think. So she just decides, she's inspired by Batman, so she just decides she's going to up and become Robin, even though she has no idea what she's doing. And so we get a great scene here with Batman up there. Now this is the part of the story. Now, as we saw in the last part, excuse me, Batman was already changing into a much, much darker character. And he pretty much completes his transformation in this story. That's a great old-timey Batman shot right there. But he's going after the mutant gang who have kidnapped a small child. And we get this iconic shot right here where Batman is bursting through a wall, which we saw in the Batman vs. Superman movie. He pretty much took that entire scene out. So the mutant guy is holding the kid hostage, says, "Hey man, I'm gonna shoot this kid. I'm gonna do it." So Batman just picks up a machine gun that was lying around and shoots him. Now, I was very naive at this time back in 1986. And I was, in my mind, it had been drilled into my mind that Batman never kills anybody. Ever. So when I saw this scene where Batman takes the machine gun and shoots this guy, and yeah, that scene in the corner where he's fallen down there after being shot by Batman, I just assumed at that time that he was shot that Batman just shot him in the shoulder. Right? That's what I thought. It never even crossed my mind that Batman just killed this guy. But reading it now, I can see pretty clearly Batman just killed this guy. And he did it to save the child. That's the excuse. But as Steve Donoghue pointed out in his video, and he does a great video, I'll link it down below, there was a bunch of ways this kid could have been saved without this guy being shot to death, but Batman just kills him. So at that point, this guy here, yeah, he's not Batman anymore, if he ever was. This version of Batman is not Batman. We see in a future issue that Frank Miller, who wrote this, does not understand Superman. At this point, when I was reading this again as an old guy, I can see pretty clearly that, you know what? I don't think Frank Miller understands Batman either. I think he has an idea of what he wants Batman to be, and he put it in this book, and it became real popular. But that's not Batman, right? This guy's not Batman. Batman just wouldn't do that. It just would be something that Batman wouldn't do, because, you know, he's a hero. He doesn't kill people. That's kind of his whole thing. But here, screw that. I'm just going to go full-on Punisher and kill this guy for no reason. So, we've got that going on. Also, we've got a really iconic shot here of Batman hanging this mutant guy upside down to get information. This is another thing that changed Batman comics, because pretty soon Batman was doing that kind of thing all the time. Now, you know where Frank Miller is coming from, because before this he has Batman calling this mutant guy a punk over and over. Now, that's not something Batman would normally say, but that is something Dirty Harry said a lot. So basically, it's pretty inspired by Dirty Harry. That's pretty much what Frank Miller thinks is a great hero, is Dirty Harry. I have nothing against Dirty Harry movies, but Batman's not Dirty Harry either. So, got some iconic shot right here. It turns out that this general is supplying the mutants with all their weaponry, and Batman pretty much shows up. You don't know if Batman talked him into killing himself, or he just killed himself so Batman wouldn't bring him in. Who knows? But you got a great iconic shot there. This guy can draw a picture, I'll tell you that. So, another interesting scene up here is when Batman goes to attack the mutants and confront the mutant leader. So he brings his Batmobile, which is now a tank, because he modified it. He modified her during some nasty riots 15 years ago. So this is Batman's riot control tank. You get the feeling that this Batman would be totally in line with the Trump method of crowd control. So yeah, you got him blowing away a bunch of mutants. Again, at the time, there's a scene right here where Batman says, "Rubber bullets, honest." And it's pretty doubtful he's actually using rubber bullets here. But at the time, when I read this the first time, I thought for sure, of course he's using rubber bullets. I just took him at his word, because he was Batman, I thought. And at that point, I didn't get it. I didn't quite catch on to what was going on. I just thought he was being really tough and cool when I was 15. And there is some great artwork in this, man. So Batman goes out and fights the mutant leader. Another iconic shot right there. Very Jack Kirby-esque looking Batman coming out to fight the mutant leader. So Batman comes out and he promptly gets his ass handed to him, because the mutant leader is way quicker, younger, and faster than Batman is, because Batman has just been spending the past several years drinking and not training, and he's basically way out of shape, and he just tries to go out and fight this guy one-on-one, and he can't do it. So Batman basically is getting, pummeled. And so the mutant leader is about to kill Batman, but the new Carrie Kelly Robin shows up and distracts the mutant leader just long enough for Batman to use this gassy thing from his utility belt, which really he probably should have done in the first place. He probably just should have come out of the tank, tossed the gassy thing in the mutant leader's face, and the fight would have been over. Instead, he's beaten nearly to death before he thinks to do this. So, not too bright, future Batman. And then we get this little scene of Superman talking to Ronald Reagan, who is somehow still the president, 10 years past the 1980s, because I'm assuming this story takes place sometime in the future world of the 90s. But Ronald Reagan is still the president, and he's talking to Superman, and he's saying, hey, go get this Batman character in line, will you? And Superman says, yes, sir. Now, at the time, I saw the Superman symbol. I just thought, cool, Superman's going to be in this. I didn't know what was coming in the third chapter. So Batman's all beaten up. Carrie Kelly rescues him, so he takes her back to the Batcave. And Batman, who clearly needs a hospital, somehow doesn't need the hospital. And in the meantime, a bunch of people are being influenced by the Batman to fight crime in terrible, stupid ways. The mutant leader is captured and is a prisoner of the police department, but still manages to kill a lawyer in here because the Gotham Police Department jail is the worst ever. Batman somehow is recovered, and we get this interesting scene where old naked Grandpa Batman is being hugged by teenage Carrie Kelly. I'm not sure why Frank Miller made this artistic choice to have naked Batman there being hugged by Robin. I don't get it. I didn't get it then. I don't get it now. Maybe someone can explain that scene to me, because I don't understand that artistic choice. So, the mutants are still around, rampaging around Gotham, causing lots of trouble. Mutant leader is in jail. And then Commissioner Gordon is about to lose his job. He's got like 2 hours left or something before he faces mandatory retirement. So Commissioner Gordon decides that this is the perfect time to commit a felony. So he helps the mutant leader to escape the jail somehow. Now this is of course when I was 15 this all made sense, but I'm an older person now. I know something about how police departments and jails work, and I know that it's pretty much impossible what Gordon is doing here. Somehow he managed to make all the jail staff leave. It's just like, hey guys, all of you take a break at the same time. I'll just hang out. I'll watch things, in my last 2 hours. And they're like, okay, cool, Gordon. And so all the jail staff disappears, and he lets the prisoner out. And Batman is there to lead the mutant leader away. So the mutant leader's a bad dude. But, what Commissioner Gordon is doing, he's basically letting a prisoner escape for the express purpose of having this prisoner assaulted and possibly killed. But he does it. Now, of course, obviously, Commissioner Gordon would get caught at doing this in real life because he's the only one who could have arranged this. Whatever, man. I guess Gotham City was really corrupt in the 90s. So anyway, Mutant Leader comes out. Batman is there for the rematch. And they have a big fight in the mud, which is really cool. Batman has decided that he just wasn't thinking the last time he fought the Mutant Leader. And this time he's going to use his brain when he fights him and actually use some of those skills he learned back in the day. And so he just beats the hell out of the Mutant Leader in front of all the Mutant Leader's followers. So the Mutant Leader's followers, a lot of them decide to become followers of Batman. Thus, we have the recruits for Batman's future terrorist group. Oh yes, that's where this is leading, for Batman to become a terrorist leader. That's coming a couple issues from now. And that's the end. And in the end, Batman's all really happy with himself. Commissioner Gordon's like, oh man, I'm out of a job. Batman's in trouble. So it was an interesting issue to revisit. I'm not sure it holds up as well as when I read it when I was 15. It made a lot more sense when I was 15. Now I'm just like, it's a good story. It is a good story. It just is not a story that involves Batman. This guy in this comic book, this guy right here, he's not Batman. He's just not. And I didn't realize that when I was reading this when I was 15. I did come to realize it though within the next story. I remember part 3 is when Superman shows up and does a bunch of things that Superman would never do. And that is the part that threw me when I was younger. Part 3 of this story. Because up to this point, man, I was a kid. I loved it. I thought all this was great. Big tank for a Batmobile. Right on, man. I didn't quite get where Frank Miller was pushing the story, where he had already pushed Batman. But once Superman showed up, and he in the third part, and he does what he did to Superman, that's the point when I was like... And I remember I wasn't just surprised. I wasn't just disappointed with part 3. I felt betrayed. As a comic book reader, as somebody who had been following these characters all my young life, and was a pretty big fan of Superman, to see what, and I know it was an imaginary story. It wasn't in continuity, but you know what? There were imaginary stories before this point. And Batman was always Batman, and Superman was always Superman. They were recognizably Batman and Superman. DC Comics was never like, yeah, do whatever you want. You know, this was different. It worked for DC Comics, man. It really did. It's incredibly influential, this story. But I remember I felt betrayed by it. And I just because of what they had done. And then, of course, I realized what they were doing, what Frank Miller was doing to Batman. So it was something. It was an interesting time. And next, chapter 3 is going to be an interesting read, to read that again. Yeah. So that was part 2 of Batman the Dark Knight Returns. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about this comic book. Tomorrow, I've got a book review coming up for you. Time Out of Joint by Philip K. Dick. So I'll catch you tomorrow here at Stately Vaughan Manor.